everyone, and welcome back to Maighstir Tarot on this glorious Friday. Weather's muggy, outside is beautiful. I was hoping to do an outside reading at some stage, but I realise my garden is still in its infancy, so hopefully within the next 12 months or so we'll get out in the garden when it's grown a bit. Just felt like I wanted to do a reading today, come to you with a reading today. I've been watching a very interesting series on YouTube called Clash of the Titans, which is it's a 4-part documentary produced by a Singapore company regarding the tensions between China and the US from 4 different aspects: economic, social, the influence in the region, etc. And it has raised some questions for me. Now, I've always been interested in politics. I have a family history in the regional politics, and also living in the region as well. I like to keep abreast of what's going on, both in a spiritual manner and a grounded, earthly manner as well. So I will post the link down underneath the video to the 4-part series if you are interested. It's quite long. They're 45 minutes or 40 to 45 minutes per episode, 4 parts. But it is very detailed, gives the view from all angles in an unbiased and fair manner, and addresses a few problems that we just may not have been aware of, and a lot of similarities that we may not have been aware of. So I'm a great optimist. I would like to think that we will find common ground, and I have great faith in the youth of tomorrow, the exchange student program, student visas, university students, high school students, learning undertaking their education in other countries is, to me, is the way of the future, because we don't learn about other people until we actually live amongst them. So there's a few questions that the series raised for me today. I'm using my mystical Magna cards as my main cards. I'm just going to do some quick draws on the questions. I don't want this video to go too long. If I need any clarifiers, I'll use my Gilded Tarot. So my first question today is really simple. Will tensions ease between the US and China? As we know, there's been a bit of sabre rattling and argy-bargy and push and shove in regards to military exercises around Taiwan. I think that is just a display of force, calling some bluff, and having a little bit of back and forth to just display, what do they call? What did one of our previous prime ministers call it? Shirt fronting. It's not actually going to lead to conflict. It's just a bit of, chest to chest man stuff. Goodness me, maybe we should have women controlling the world as long as they're decent women, which most are. So I just want to do a little quick reading on a few questions that I have. First of all, I'll just bring Spirit in for us. Welcome to my Spirit Guide and all who come with him. Protect us with your light and share with us your wisdom. So first question is will tensions ease between the US and China? One major factor is that each country needs the other country. Neither can go it alone. I was going to say that they would rip the world apart if they tried to make other countries choose, but I don't think that will never happen, because the global economy is so intertwined that the US supplies to China goods and services that China requires supplies to the US goods and services that the US supplies neither can produce or does produce those particular items themselves. There's some interesting things going on in China at the moment that you may be aware of with the Chinese government banning particular goods and products, and now finding that they have shortages of those goods and products, for example, from Australia. So they've been doing a little bit of cutting their noses off to spite their own faces type scenarios, and what's happening is they're moving into, for example, they had a blockade on Australian coal. Australia produces a very high quality coal. I won't say I'm against coal, I just think we should be moving towards a world without fossils a lot quicker. But at the moment there is a reliance on coal for a certain amount of electricity production in China. They blockaded the Australian coal, and now they're finding they've got electricity shortages. So they've done a bit of, I'm going to stand up to you even if it's going to cost me or cost my citizens type scenario. I do see that easing in the near future. I just think that Australia has to stand strong and not give in. But the question for today is, will the tensions ease between the US and China? I think under the Biden administration it will. There's a lot of talk about intellectual property being stolen, intellectual property's been hacked and stolen and passed back and forth for thousands of years, ever since, the first, the Western countries took from the East on how to make paper without using papyrus. Took that technology back to the West. Ever since the UK and the East India Company learned how to manufacture their own tea, that was intellectual property that was also stolen, hundreds of years ago. So it's been back and forth for thousands of years. And actually, there was a young lady on the series, I think it was episode 3, was talking about how scientific information, health information really should be without borders and should be just international knowledge rather than being protected within a particular country to try and make that country superior to others. So I thought that was a very interesting concept. Was very impressed, which, as I said, gives me hope when the youth of the future comes through. But the first question, back on focus, Liz. I do tend to get off onto these tangents, I do apologise. Libby, will tensions ease between the US and China? Will the tensions ease between the US and China? Okay, quick look. Right. Signifier card, King of Coins. So this is about the monetary reliance that each country has on the other for its own economy. With governments, so I'm doing a signifier card and then 3 that will just read on to the signifier card. So we've got governments, insecurity, sort of hanging on, protecting, and this one is intergenerational money, but it can also mean trade between middle. It's a middle class card for money, and to me that's looking like commerce and trade. And the magician, manifestation. Sorry, I did 4 there. And the base of the pack, the emperor. So what we've got is the King of Coins, which is the reliance on the monetary trade, the economy, the strength of the economies of each country relies on the other. Government, a little bit of insecurity, but the fact that there is this commerce that is needed to go on, and that the magician is the manifestation. So Yes, it will ease. There will be a lot of diplomacy that needs to go ahead. It'll come via the reliance of each country on the other, and it'll actually come via businesses and the citizens themselves working together rather than the government itself. But we do have, so we've got the governments with the insecurity and the businesses and the citizens actually making it happen. At the base we've got the Emperor, which means strength and unwavering, but then the Empress. Can't believe these two cards came out together. And the Empress is abundance, prosperity, and Mother Earth. But you've got the male strength, and then the female dominance coming over, the feminine dominance coming over. Now, I'm not saying this is men and women being in competition, but it's more about that common sense will prevail. So yes, the tensions will ease. I mean, there'll still be the inter-country rivalry, protectionism, but it won't be to the extent that it was for the previous 4 years. And I think what's happened is it's come to a head, and the countries are realising how they have more in common than they have of differences. Now, I wanted to ask, so the Philippines have what's called a visiting forces agreement with the US. Been around for, 20 so years, 20, 30 years, and what it means is it's a deal that the Philippines have with the US that enable US military and troops to be based in the Philippines, and that the US can, warships, etc., can visit the Philippines without having to get extra approval from the government. So it's an ongoing agreement they've had. 6 months ago, the president of the Philippines cancelled that agreement, and then very shortly afterwards reinstated it for review in 6 months' time. And I just want to ask whether the uncertainty behind the US Philippines VFA deal is behind, so the insecurity of the Philippines US VFA deal, is that behind the sudden rush announcement deal making for the US Australian submarine deal? Is the VF instability behind the Australian submarine deal? Hands are a bit sweaty today, making it hard for me to shuffle a bit. Okay, the World card. So the World card is the final achievement of something, the ending of something. Can also mean literally the world, but often it's significant endings. The Devil, Queen of Cups, Seven of Wands, Knight of Cups. Okay, so what we've got happening here is, so this is, to me, this is something coming to the end of its cycle, which I think is the VFA deal. It's probably outlived its, not its usefulness, but its relevance to the Philippines. The Devil card, you'll notice these people down here are chained to the Devil. The Devil can mean all sorts of things: toxicity, addiction, temptation, unauthentic, not particularly nice energy. And these people are chained down here. Now they can unchain themselves. They have chosen to remain there. And I think what's happened is that the Philippines have found themselves chained to a deal that's probably not to their best advantage, given the way that the world politics is changing at the moment. And for those that are afraid of change, change is the only certainty. There will always be change, and change is the only guarantee in life, as difficult as it can be. So one either embraces it or struggles against it. So we've got the Queen of Cups. Now this is a benevolent, emotional, strong feminine offering in regards to security. And I think that's what's happening here, is that the submarine deal is to give the region some emotional security that the US will still be around in case of battle. This is not actually battle, it's just more a showing of, you've got here a showing of power or a showing of defences, and the Knight of Cups, which is an offering. So none of those are particularly dangerous cards, naysayer cards. They're more the fact that the world is a changed place, and the submarine deal is going through because of regional security, to have a show of power, and just make an offering of a relationship offering. So yes, in some ways, yes it is. Yes it is, and oh gosh, I've gone quite dark there. The sun must have gone behind a cloud. Yes it is, in regards to the submarine deal is seen as just a way for the US to have a presence in the South Pacific when the VFA deal finally ends. Okay, so next question is, will ASEAN, now ASEAN is a, just like we have ANZAC and NATO and the European Union, etc. ASEAN is a group of countries in the Southeast Asia, Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, Singapore and Thailand, who have an organisation where they have representatives from each of those countries, and they deal together with as a bloc for the interests of that particular region. So what's happened with the tensions with the US and China, the tariffs, the sanctions, etc. You've got a percentage of companies that have since moved out of China. It hasn't been a great amount, but a percentage of companies have moved their businesses out of China and found that they can operate quite profitably and successfully in these other ASEAN countries. Now China's not very happy about it, obviously, as they're seeing that they're losing some business, and a lot of these countries border onto the South China Sea, which is an area of contention, as well as with China trying to take back areas that they believe were theirs traditionally, but other countries dispute that. So, fishing rights, etc., have all been in a bit of conflict. So, I just want to ask, will ASEAN step up to protect Southeast Asia from Chinese government pressure? Will ASEAN step up? Okay, what have we got? Again, I've gone the 4. Okay, so at the top we have, actually, I'll bring it up. I think what happened is it went dark because I'd taken it down and then popped up again. We've got the Hierophant, government. Well, it's the systems, it's the system of government, it's the legal system, the religious system, it's authoritative systems. It also means influence and wisdom. But I think in this stage this is ASEAN itself. They haven't, in the past, there has been some deception, there has been some self-sabotage, they have been pandering, they haven't been stepping up. So this is sort of a betrayal of fellow comrades or fellow soldiers, warriors, whatever you like to call. And I think what's happened is that ASEAN hasn't, so I'm thinking this is actually China, the bullying of China, and no, it hasn't in the past. There is an offer on the table, a night coming forward with an offer, review and consolidation, and then this is strength, unwavering strength. So I think from this, in the past, they haven't really pushed back against China. They haven't acted as a bloc in the interests of their fellow bloc members. But I think what's happening is it's currently undergoing a review, and it will realise its own strength. Oh, and the next card was strength. And this is compassionate power. So inner strength and compassionate power. So I think what's going to come together is that they are going to come together and actually stand up for each other, defend the territorial waters of each other, and just push back. Not in a military way, not necessarily in a sanctions way, but just diplomatic way is what I'm getting. And last question, because I'm already up to 22 minutes for what was supposed to be a very quick reading. I've got some other questions down here, but they're in relation to something else. I'll do a different reading on that. So China's been very... there's been a lot of publicity about their Belt and Road policy, where China has been funding infrastructure, etc., in infrastructure and development in other countries, in the forms of supplying the loans and arranging the construction, etc. And I just wanted to ask, they've received a lot of criticism about it. What's happened is that some countries have been unable to repay the loans that China have lent them, and have felt threatened. Not necessarily saying China has threatened them, but they just not knowing where they stood at being able to repay these loans, etc. And I just want to ask, because I don't think, my gut tells me, or my intuition tells me, that the Belt and Road policy wasn't for malevolent purposes. I think what's happening is that China is trying to find its way as a world, it's not even world leader, but a mentor for other countries. And I don't, this is my intuition tells me it wasn't malevolent, but I do want to ask, I think the Belt and Road policy was in comparison to the US policy of military invasion and force, whereas China was trying to, so you've got one country with sort of the stick and the other country with the carrot or the honey and the vinegar, or however you like to put it. So I just want to ask, so I think what's happening is China's trying to find its way. Now, I am not a great supporter of China. They have an awful lot of human rights issues that just break my heart. I just feel what's happening is they're learning their way and making mistakes. They're like a young adult or an older teenager. They have been watching other countries in the world and trying to learn the best way to govern and be part of the world, because it's only been 20 years since they were actually allowed into the World Trade Organization, where they actually have had free trade throughout the world, so they are very new on the world stage. And I think what's happening is they've been watching other countries trying to learn, and they're making mistakes. They're pushing back against. It's almost like, as I said, the older teen rebelling against the parents when they realise the parents, which are the older, more established countries like the UK and on the world stage, I'm talking about like the UK and the US. They've realised that they don't necessarily know everything, so they are pushing back. When these other more established world trading companies try to tell them what to do, they're going, well, no. So I think we've got basically a rebellious older teen on our hands. But I just want to ask, is the intentions of the Belt and Road policy positive towards recipient countries? So, with the intentions of Belt and Road positive for the recipient countries? With the intentions of Belt and Road positive for recipient countries? Okay, very quickly, signifier card, no. Wasn't what I was expecting, wasn't what I was hoping for, no. China was being unauthentic. The Knight of Wands, so this is a knight bringing a plan. What's happening is originally, no, it wasn't authentic. The plan is changing. He's bringing forward a new plan of giving and receiving wealth through contracts and partnerships. This also means difficult decisions to be made with the intention of truth and security. And the Ace of Wands. So the offering of a new plan. So no, the original, and walking away from what is not serving. It's going to happen fairly quickly. So again, new partnerships, decisions to be made. And again, the world stage. So the end of a cycle, beginning of a completion of a cycle, and the beginning of a new cycle. So I think and prosperity. So the original intention, no. But what's happened is they're learning, and they are bottom of the pack, a plan on the world stage, and a powerful truth. So what's happening is that the original intention was no, it was more about influence, but as the system has progressed, the plan has changed. So yes, it did have undertones of not malevolence. of manipulation, but in its process of growing up, and we've all made mistakes as we grow up, it's just ours aren't usually on the world stage, China has realised that that was a mistake, and now they're more into adjusting towards partnerships. So I hope that can ease some concerns. As I said, I'll put the link down below. Some questions about the climate and whether our Prime Minister Scott Morrison will actually go to Glasgow, but they're all for a different day. I might read on that on Sunday or Monday. So if you've got any questions about the relationships with China, please put them in the comments below, and I shall see you later. So stay safe as New South Wales is about to open up on Monday. I will see you on Sunday for the Oracle reading and see what the week ahead's going to bring for us. Stay safe, stay sane, and look after yourselves. Okay, love to everybody.